Hello everyone and welcome to Spoiler Warning. It's been a little while, been about a week since our last stream, but welcome. Hi, I'm Tom Colohue. I am here with up-to-date wrestling news and updates on a number of different topics. We're going to be talking Money in the Bank. We have updates on Sasha Banks, Io Shirai and the plans for Logan Paul. Of course, in addition to all of that, we'll be answering your questions, so jump in with whatever questions you have as we go through the news. For Spoiler Warning, let's catch up and see what people are saying in the chat, what people are asking. So, Edward Brooks is first in, says, hello Tom, happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Tomorrow marks 1 year since Bayley's last WWE appearance live. It has also been 847 days since her last match in front of a crowd. Bayley news is a-coming. Simon says, hey Tom, really hope your office is okay. It is. It has a new light. The electric's a bit more snug, and it's actually working, so that's always good news. Any Sasha news updates? Yes, indeed. As Jaden also asked for Sasha Banks updates, they are a-coming. Bayley says, hello Tom, welcome back. Hello Bayley, how are you? And Brandon says, hello there, welcome Brandon. Spider-Boss says, hi Tom, any news on Sasha and Bayley? Rajgiri keeps insisting WWE released Sasha. There is news on that coming very shortly. Spider-Boss says, welcome back. Your thoughts on Salah re-signing with Liverpool? Thrilled, excited. Not sure how it's going to bankroll the club per se, but excited for it as a prospect because that's a pretty strong front three. Spider-Boss says, what do you think about WWE signing Logan Paul? More on that later. Spider-Boss saying, could we see any surprise at Money in the Bank? Yes, we can. Michael says, hi Tom. Hello, Michael. And Omega says, in the middle of a 10-hour car ride. That sucks, but thank you very much for tuning in. Noom says, hello Tom, hope your week is well. My week has been fantastic, thank you. Okay, Spider-Boss also saying, according to the Wrestling Observer, Io Shirai rejected WWE's contract offer. That is true, and news on that is coming. Two more comments to read. Hypnosis Bros is hoping you have a return update for Bayley and Charlotte. Charlotte, not so much, but Bayley, yes. And Jane says, is there a chance that Sasha makes it in the Money in the Bank match? No. So, first update, as always, because I'm always inundated with questions on this exact topic, is as regards Sasha Banks. It's become the inescapable. We always have to start with Sasha Banks. So, Raj Giri of Wrestling Inc. has been very clear. The news that he has and the news that he has reported is that Sasha Banks was released on June 10th. He did come under fire for potentially exposing a source, but that is not what actually happened there. That simply was not the case. So he has reported that. However, I can confirm PW Insider's report. When it comes to the WWE, they have not released Sasha Banks at this point in time. They simply have not. She is still listed on all internal rosters, and she is listed in the creative list for face, heel, and the like. There are no creative plans for her at the moment because they don't know how long it will take for her to return. But as I've been reporting for about a month now, her representatives have sat down with the WWE on a number of occasions, trying to get her out of her contract. Thus far, they have not succeeded. I did mention after Vince McMahon was, stepped down from his post, that there was an increased willingness to negotiate from Sasha Banks and Naomi. Over the last few days, that report of mine has started to circulate, but it started to circulate with other people's names on it. So that is the case. Sasha Banks' lawyers, representatives I should say, are trying to get her out of her WWE contract, but with Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis at least temporarily out of the picture, there is a additional willingness to speak, communicate and negotiate. Sasha Banks is not expected to be back in time for Money in the Bank. She is not internally listed for the Money in the Bank ladder match, as I reported when the first qualifiers were starting, and there is no intention to have her back for that pay-per-view, to my knowledge, at this point in time. As regards Charlotte, she's expected to be back in and around this time. For SummerSlam, I'd expect to see her on the SmackDown after Money in the Bank, especially considering that I believe a Raw woman will be winning the briefcase. As regards Io Shirai, let's briefly touch on this as we're on this topic. Io Shirai is indeed planning to leave the WWE. She has rejected the most recent WWE contract offer, which is something that the WWE were expecting. Io Shirai has rejected contract offers before. This is not the first one she has turned down, and it is apparently the main reason why she has not thus far been called up to the main roster. The WWE, and I quote, do not believe she has the commitment level required to be a main roster talent. They don't want to build her up too much if they're not going to take the benefit from it. From what I can tell, the door is open at Stardom, and Stardom are very interested in having Io Shirai return. I would not expect to see her back on NXT TV at all. I would not expect to see her back on NXT TV at all. As we continue with the news about Logan Paul, about Money in the Bank, answering your questions, please do remember that you can hit like on this video on YouTube. We currently have 13 likes and 33 viewers, so the more likes the better for our individual growth. And subscribe if you haven't. We're at 1,205 subscribers, only a handful more to get to that 1,210, which I'm very much looking for. And if you're on Twitch, hit follow. Donate if you can, and that's to everyone out there if you would like to. And don't forget that we now have even more members only content, with more coming. Starting next week, there'll be even more of Nick and Tom's Intercontinental Adventure and a bit more behind the scenes stuff. So please be sure to sign up as a member if you have considered that previously. Of course, if you can afford it, there is a $1 option, which I think is suitable for all comers, as it were. And I like to make myself as affordable as possible. What can I say? And hit like on the video if you haven't already. Spider-Boss says, I loved the Blood and Guts match on Dynamite. Still haven't watched it, gotta be honest there. Dimitar says, hi Tom, any truth to the reports by Shepard and Billy that Sasha has been talking with WOW? If Sasha Banks has been talking with WOW, that is a major contract breach, and the WWE will be suing. So let's just say those reports have incurred the wrath of WWE because they are not true. Ed, hello Ed, how you doing, mate? I love your little icon that you've got now. I don't know why the icon's there. I don't know what it is per se, but I like it. I think it's just a channel member icon, but I'm still happy about it. Hypnosis Bro says, I find it weird that everyone is talking about Sasha, but no one is talking about Naomi. I don't find it that weird, ultimately, and I'm going to be honest here, people care about Sasha a lot more than they care about Naomi. That's just how it is. Spider-Boss says, since WWE doesn't want to release Sasha, can WWE make a big offer to Sasha to bring her back? I don't understand what you're saying there, Spider-Boss. A big offer would be a new contract, which she does not want to sign. There is no big offer they can make to bring her back. Either she comes back by her own accord or not so much. Michael says, Naomi's friend says management is trying to smooth things over for Sasha and Naomi. As I said, there is an additional willingness to negotiate on all parties since John Laurinaitis got the kick, as it were. When I was expecting an announcement about John Laurinaitis, we've had it now. It's that he was kicked out for gardening leave, as it were. Maybe back. Let's just say some people do not want him back. Thank you for confirming, Ed. Appreciate that. Hypnosis Pro says, is Becky scheduled to be on SmackDown tonight? 6 of the 7 are in a match, but it'd be weird not to see her make an appearance. I would expect to see Becky Lynch on SmackDown tonight. Yes, I don't expect them to announce it ahead of time. I expect her to turn up and just celebrate the glory of being Becky Lynch. Spider-Boss says, I always wonder why Sasha's fans buy all the rumours about Sasha. Well, they are some of the hungriest for news that I've ever encountered, I'll say that. And you can't really say you're not a part of that, Spider-Boss, to be completely fair. And when you're that hungry for news, you tend to be desperate to find it wherever you can, so you tend to believe sources aren't necessarily the right ones. Simon says, with Raj Giri saying they are working on smoothing things out, Sasha at the moment trying to desperately win Sasha back, do you think Sasha will actually return to WWE TV anytime soon? It's up to Sasha. It would be a complete guess for me to say otherwise, but as I've said, Simon, I did mention this considerably before Raj Giri did, and they are trying to smooth out. We'll see how it plays. Bayley says, Sasha has a career outside WWE. She should negotiate a Cena-like limited date contract to get to work in Hollywood. Let her wrestle when she can, but not a full-time performer. Cena is not on a limited date contract. He's not on a contract at all. He's not on a contract at all. I just need to be really blunt there and really, really clear. He's not on a contract at all. He turns up, gets paid on basically a pay-by-play basis, and then goes again. David Leary says, any news on Toxic Attraction being called up to the main roster? They've been discussing that for months. They were supposed to come up after WrestleMania. This was vetoed by Triple H, who said he needed them when he returned. However, at this point in time, there's a lot of negotiation, and the head of creative, Vince McMahon, may be looking to overrule Triple H. There may be a reason for that. Ethan says, hey Tom, what's the news on Bayley and Sasha? Now Sasha I've discussed. What I will say on Sasha is that, to my knowledge, she has not been released and there is an additional openness to negotiation at the moment, which could see her return in time for about SummerSlam. However, let's talk Bayley for a moment. I'm going to reiterate something I've already said that is now suddenly in the news because Dave Meltzer has said it. Bayley has been cleared. She is fit to wrestle. They are just waiting on the right storyline. Dave Meltzer today reported that she'll be back soon. How long have I been saying that? Like, how long have I been saying that one? Justin, welcome, says last Money in the Bank participant Owens. I think it will be Kevin Owens, yes. He may be carrying a slight injury and that may keep him out of the ladder match if it's any worse than we expect. But ultimately, Kevin Owens is one of those where I expect he'll be in it regardless of how injured he may or may not be. Noob says the only person who's been gaining so much success in WWE, that's Asuka, knows the business. Even if it's Raw talk a few weeks ago, she may not win every time, but she's enjoying having fun. She's not the only person who's been gaining so much success. Let's consider, for example, the Usos, Matt Riddle, Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, Liv Morgan. A lot of people have been gaining a lot of success recently, I will say that. Michael says WWE doesn't have the money for Sasha. Certainly she would be an expensive one, I say that, but reports that she's already negotiating with WWE, complete garbage. Complete garbage. Simon says SmackDown looks a cracking great show tonight. Well, I hope so, because I'm going to be watching it, so I really am excited for something good. Looks like they're bringing in a lot of Raw superstars, and honestly, I'm okay with that. Sometimes that's the right call. Zayas here says, hey Tom and all. Hope you're all good. Glad to see your SmackDown boycott has ended, Simon. Indeed. Simon quite excited for SmackDown, despite hating everyone there, after all. Spider-Boss says, for a big offer to Sasha, it's offer her a good push and title run. She has been promised a good push and title run by the WWE many, many times. One of the reasons we've reached where we are now is because she no longer trusts them. John says, I hope this isn't the end of Io Shirai in WWE. Could still do more for the company and the matches she could have with Becky, Alexa, Charlotte, Bayley, etc. I expect none of those to happen. I do not believe we will see her on WWE main roster at any point, and quite possibly not on NXT again. Kevin, hello, says, I know the reason why Raw ratings going up, not because Mr. McMahon, because no more NBA game. Yeah, also it's seasonal. Raw ratings are always terrible in the month or two after WrestleMania. Always. Every single year. So it's always really funny watching wrestling journalists lose their minds over the fact that, WWE's had its lowest rating ever. All TV is having its lowest rating ever. And every single year, WWE dips in the exact same point. It rises again in the lead into SummerSlam. Keeps going into Survivor Series, dips over Christmas, then rises again in a huge way between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. That gap between Royal Rumble and WrestleMania is the busiest period for wrestling. Even if it doesn't have the most viewership for Raw and SmackDown, everything else is massively boosted in that period. And in fact, me, Tom Colohue, my fastest period of growth was between the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, because that's when the casuals are tuning in. Hey Sean, how you doing, mate? Sean says he'll be the last entrant in the men's Money in the Bank. I'm confident it's going to be Kevin Owens, though it may have to play out tonight after all. Justin is saying Sanga be moved to the main roster soon. I believe that's a report from Dave Meltzer. Wrestler fan says, will John Cena be competing at SummerSlam? It seems likely at this point in time. After all, he's come a bit too late for Money in the Bank, but he does have a bit of a beef going on with Austin Theory that I'm excited to see more of. Spider-Boss says Sasha and Bayley spent some time together this week. They spend some time together pretty much every week. Noob says, out of the 3 Joshi wrestlers who got signed to WWE again, okay, so you've now limited it from of everyone, now it's just the Joshi wrestlers. Okay. Simon says, probably meant Sasha on a brand new Orton Styles Reigns part-time level contract, which would mean signing a new contract, which once again she has no interest in doing. Kevin says, WWE crazy let Io Shirai go. She's awesome. They're not letting her go. She has run down her contract and walked away. It hasn't happened as of yet, but that's what I'm expecting. The walking away. Okay? It's not a case of WWE losing. She's choosing not to sign a new contract. There is nothing that they can do. Nothing. Sean says, the Observer said there is a plan at NXT to turn Cora Jade heel. If they are losing Toxic Attraction, which seems likely at this point in time. They kind of have to turn someone heel, and Cora Jade is right there waiting for it. Omega says, I'm going to take a drink for every time Tom has to explain the Sasha news. You'd have already been on 4, I believe. Thank you for reminding me to take a drink. Hypnosis Bro says, I might have misheard this, but there was a commercial on Raw that said all Money in the Bank participants would be coming face-to-face tonight on SmackDown. Is that nixed now and replaced with the tag? That may be what they mean by face-to-face. They have changed the plan. The script for SmackDown as it was when Raw was advertising it is not what it is now. But I do still expect we'll have some sort of showdown. I suspect we may open with them all in promo and close with them all wrestling. Simon says, Bayley has been training for a return at the Performance Centre. Today, while hanging out with Sasha at art galleries, at Disney World, tanning salons this week. Yeah. Thank you for the update. Spider-Boss says, I wonder how WWE can bring back Sasha since Sasha doesn't want to return. They would need to convince her to return, and that's why they're currently negotiating. We are very much in a situation where she does not want to come back. The WWE are trying to convince her to come back. If it works, she'll come back. Bear with me. Pardon me. That is the situation that we're in right now. It's very much up to Sasha Banks. It's entirely on her. Michael says, last year before SummerSlam, Sasha was on Instagram Live with the WWE Germany account. She was asked when she was going to star on her own show, and she said maybe 2023, so I've assumed her contract is up sometime next year. There is a lot of different news coming out at the moment about Sasha's contract, most of which is blatantly untrue. At least there is some logic to what you're saying there. Sean says, were there negotiations to bring Io up? And she said no. Yes and no. Yes and no. Sai has, I believe, renewed his membership for a 3rd month. Thank you kindly, Sai. That's a milestone, chat, is it? Oh, I see, because you've reached a milestone of the 3 months. Thank you kindly for your continued support, Sai. I really do appreciate it. Not just for the channel membership, but also, of course, for all the different designs that you've involved. I'm looking forward to showing off the Money in the Bank one a little bit later. Yeah, but as regards Io Shirai, they wanted her up. They wanted her up for a long time, but they don't believe she is adequately committed. She did not show the, and I quote, commitment required to be brought up to the main roster. Kingslander says, hey, I'm late. Any Sasha Naomi update? Yes, I've reiterated a few times. I'll catch up on the chat and then do it again. Jayquick says, hi, Tom. Hello, Jayquick. How you doing? And Megan says, imagine if the final men's spot goes to Logan Paul. I wouldn't hate it. They need more heels. They need more heels. Jermaine says, hi, Tom. Just got done with work. What did I miss? A Sasha Banks update, a Bayley update, and a little bit on Io Shirai. We will be talking Logan Paul in a moment. Sai, thank you for that update. Looks like I haven't. I'll need to reactivate the super chat. Pardon me. Looks like I'll have to do that as soon as I'm off. So once I've finished, I will reactivate that. Thank you for the heads up. I do appreciate it. Spider-Boss says, since Sasha's lawyers' attempts have failed, could we see WWE negotiate with Sasha? No. She brought in representatives so that she doesn't have to. They're not going to do it directly. Justin says, how can they not find anything for Bayley? Not what I said. Not what I said. They are waiting for the right storyline. Essentially, that means that they may want her to be with a certain opponent, but that opponent is not currently available. For example, they may want to conclude the Becky Lynch and Asuka feud before starting a Becky Lynch and Bayley feud. Very different than saying, Bayley, we've got nothing for you. Very different situation. For example, look where Asuka is right now. They waited for the right moment. Simon says, any new updates on MJF's AEW TV return? Nope, none whatsoever. Super Pony, welcome, says, will Kevin Owens be in the match? I believe so, yes. He is the most likely candidate for the remaining spot, though it could be a surprise like, for example, John Cena. Sean says, who do you think beats Toxic Attraction? Everyone with a stick when they sleep. Simon is saying, get well soon to Adam Cole, which I think is fair. Sean says, if Cora is turning heel, I don't see her and Roxanne winning the tag team titles at Great American Bash next Tuesday. Logically, she'll be beating up Roxanne. Roxanne will then beat her up, and then Roxanne will become the new women's champion. Thank you, Dimitar. Razar says, is there any discussion with WWE about all these talents running down their contracts and leaving, like Cesaro, Kushida, and now Io? Are they blaming the talent? They are not necessarily blaming the talent. They're also not necessarily blaming themselves. Now that there is competition, now that there are alternatives, the WWE did expect people to start running down those contracts. There are some people they didn't want to let go, but to be fair, they are being told well in advance, that these people are planning to leave. It's not a big surprise to them like it was with, for example, Adam Cole, where they just weren't paying attention. That's no longer the case. So they have enough time to do whatever they need to do with the individual wrestlers. They have time now. Also, to be fair, let's be honest, Cesaro and Kushida weren't doing anything. There's a reason for that. They knew they were going. Bayley says, what are your latest predictions for the briefcase matches, or is that for the premium content? No, the premium content is mostly podcast style. I don't hide news behind paywalls, as I've said a few times, and I'm sure many of you are aware. I don't hide news behind paywalls. My latest predictions are coming shortly. I just need to catch up with the chat, and then I'll jump into it. Spiderboss says, can Bayley's return help bring back Sasha? No. Hypnosis Pro said, what happened to MJF? He disappeared faster than Becky beat Bianca at SummerSlam. There is an ongoing contract negotiation between Tony Khan and MJF. King Xander says, if it's up to her and she doesn't want to return, then give the woman her release. It's just getting annoying now. The WWE believe that they can change her mind, and they're continuing to attempt to do so. Michael says, hope to see Io in Stardom and then see Stardom work of AEW. I think that's a very exciting prospect. I think Thunder Rosa versus Io Shirai could be a hell of a match and a hell of a combination. Hypnosis Pro says, Sasha returning would be a massive boost for WWE. I can totally understand her walking out. It would be a definitive boost. It would also be very convincing to a hell of a lot of people who may want out that she is being convinced to come back, if she is convinced to come back. Sean says, who do you think beats Toxic Attraction? I've already answered that question, and I genuinely do believe it'll be everyone with a stick while they sleep. Jaden says, if Sasha is not going to re-sign, she will not wrestle again. I'm not saying that, to be clear. I believe she will go to Hollywood at this point. I think we are likely to see her go to Hollywood rather than AEW, but I can't rule out the possibility that Sasha Banks is going to continue to be a wrestler. Edward Brooks says, what are the chances we get to see Bayley return as soon as tomorrow? Tomorrow, very low. Next Friday, quite high. Jay Quick says, who is the odds-on favourite to win Money in the Bank match? I will be sharing that news shortly. I just need to catch up with the chat before we jump in. Robs is excited for the Money in the Bank overlay. Wrestler Fan says, will Bobby Lashley and AJ Styles, be competing at SummerSlam? Yes. Jared says, are you using a different cam, Tom? Quality looks so much better. It is actually the light. The reason I did not stream, or one of the reasons I did not stream on Monday, is I had some electrical issues in this here office. So I had to change some bulbs, look at the wiring a little bit, unscrew a couple of sockets, and now I have just a new light. So if I turn off the ring light, I'm still not well lit, but I'm better quality. Better quality. Dimitar, this is absolutely lovely. Says, just want to say we appreciate you informing us on all news, Tom. You rule. Thank you kindly. Appreciate that. Jay Quick says, I've just got a gut feeling that Alexa wins Money in the Bank again. Just a feeling I have. I do not have that feeling. Simon says, do you think we get AJ Styles versus The Miz added late to the Money in the Bank pay-per-view? Possible, unlikely, as they're both on Raw. Hypnosis Pro says, I'm honestly glad up, up, down, down content is back. I missed it so much. Also, side note, Becky and Seth are so goofy. I love them for it. I've been really enjoying the Battle of the Brands being back. Really enjoying that. I'm so glad to see it return. And Jermaine says, I thought after this past Tuesday night in NXT 2.0 that Caden Carter and Katana were supposed to turn heel soon. Maybe they were. Maybe Toxic Attraction is going good. Maybe they're going up as the good guys. We currently have 52 people in the YouTube side of the show. Please do consider hitting the like button, as we only have 17 at the moment, and subscribe if you haven't already. We currently have 1,205 subscribers, and we're looking to collect just a couple more as we continue on the path to 1,210. Every little helps, and if you haven't subscribed already, please do so. And if you have, by all means, hit that like button. Makes a big difference. Sean says, who do you have winning Women's Money in the Bank? As soon as I've caught up on the chat, I will let you know. Michael says, do you know anything about Nixon Newell? A continuation of the previous knee injuries. So she's not been really available to wrestle so far. Once she is available, I'd imagine she'll start looking for bookings. But at the moment, she's not considered a particularly trustworthy commodity because of her injury history. Simon believes Danhausen had cursed the AW roster or something. Never seen a pro wrestling roster absolutely savaged with so many injuries at one time. There are reasons for that. Simon's picks for Money in the Bank are Liv Morgan and Seth Rollins. Spider-Boss says, I miss Sasha so much. Yeah, poor thing. Kervin says, everybody wants Sasha Banks to return, but for me, Sasha Banks is made for Hollywood. I do think that is a very likely scenario, and I think that may be the main reason she's trying to get out of a contract at the moment. Sean says, Kurt Angle said on NBC Sport, Boston, Tony Khan called him wanting to wrestle and gave him a pretty good deal, but said he can't do it anymore. Tony Khan has approached a hell of a lot of people to try and make that happen. Spider-Boss sees Becky and Seth winning tomorrow. Jermaine says, I've already read that one. Jared says, any watch-alongs these couple days, Tom? Yes, 2 in fact. We will be watching SmackDown later on tonight. In perpetuity, we're watching it in its entirety, as usual. And of course, tomorrow is Money in the Bank, where we will be having ourselves a watch-along and a watch party. It will start right at the beginning of the Money in the Bank pre-show and will last until the end of the Money in the Bank main show. So much like Hell in a Cell, we will be having an entire show for Money in the Bank as well. The Hell in a Cell show had 4,100 and change views. Let's just say if I was monetized at that time, it would have been very, very, very valuable. Hopefully, as we're monetized now, Money in the Bank will provide. Sean says, since Nikita defeated Mandy by DQ, is she the one to dethrone Mandy? I still believe that Roxanne is the most likely one to dethrone Mandy. Hypnosis Bro says, did anyone find the cure for the injury bug? Super Pony says, what do you think of Owens and Zayn versus the Usos at SummerSlam? I would love it. I would love to see Owens and Zayn back together as a pair. They did tremendous work together and against each other, and they've been separate for long enough now that it feels different and new, and I'm excited for it. Spider-Boss says, can Sasha get a part-time deal like Brock? If she asks for it and the WWE offer it to her, then yes. If not, no. David Leary says, haven't seen Joe and Mark Coffey on NXT UK TV. What happened to them? Good question. I absolutely cannot say anything other than that there were certain allegations made. I can't sit here in judgment of anyone. I don't have the full facts. Just that there were certain allegations made. But I wouldn't know because I don't watch NXT UK on account of the amount of sex perverts. You know. Simon says, I really think Cora Jade will be a future megastar for the WWE. I think she has high potential and I'm excited to see where she goes. Sean says, any chances Steph and Becky don't win Money in the Bank? As I've said, my predictions will come after I've caught up with the chat. The more questions there are about Money in the Bank, the longer it will take me to talk about Money in the Bank. It is excited for Money in the Bank and Great American Bash content out the wazoo. So speaking of Rob's here, but I want to read this one out. Says, I'm doing a new one for SummerSlam right now if Tom wants it. Oh, absolutely. The running joke is he gets it during the prior pay-per-view. This one I'm working on is special. Open to ideas, though. Very true. For those that don't know, while I was watching Hell in a Cell, Sai was watching with us, as you guys may remember if you watched it. He turned away from the main event match because Cody Rhodes obviously carrying a pretty big injury, and in order to distract himself, he made me the Money in the Bank overlay. I think we've settled very nicely on our theme, if everyone's particularly happy with this, because even if you're not, to be honest, I'm very happy with this. And, you know, just builds nicely on it. It's very good. It's very good. Johnny Crow says, who do you see being the next call-ups from NXT with Toxic Attraction? Would love to see Mello and Waller coming up. They're trying desperately to get Bron Breakker up. Vince wants Bron Breakker. Here's a report that should be everywhere already, but it's not going to go anywhere. Vince wants Bron Breakker. Triple H does not want Bron Breakker to go. Hypnosis Bro says, what's your Logan Paul dream match? Mine is Seth Rollins. Logan Paul dream match. Lots of good possibilities there. Obviously, The Miz is a good shout and a good start. I would probably say someone like Kevin Owens, to be honest. Kevin Owens versus Logan Paul could work out really well for me. But I think if we're going one in particular, Pat McAfee. Logan Paul, Pat McAfee, why not? Spider-Boss says, I wonder how Sasha can go to Hollywood having a frozen contract. She can't. That's why she's trying to get out of her contract. Jared says, are Roman and Brock likely to be on SmackDown tonight? No, I do not believe either Roman nor Brock will be on SmackDown tonight, much as they were not last week either. Spider-Boss says, AEW has more injuries than the Looney Tunes on Space Jam from 96. So says, good recollection, Tom, the briefcase. I'd much rather see... I've skipped that. Good recollection, Tom, and I've still not watched the end of that Cody match. Fair enough, mate, whatever works for you. Wiggly says, yo, 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 yo. I can just say yo, 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 yo to you, Wiggly. Super Pony says, does Seth really need the briefcase? I'd much rather see Sami Zayn or KO win it. He doesn't need it, but for storyline purposes, in order to get to a main event of WrestleMania featuring Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, Seth may be the one. Sean says, Alan Angels has apparently left AEW since his contract is up. That's 2 Dark Order members gone. Yep, he was an early signing and someone that they just didn't see much future for, so they let his contract lapse. Jermaine says, Becky being the only heel on the women's side kind of makes her an obvious choice to win it for the women, and Seth Rollins winning it again makes it very interesting. Simon says, I felt really sorry for Bianca this week because of all the hate she got for the Sports Illustrated interview for not mentioning Sasha's name, because like Naomi's friend said, the video recorded a while ago. Also, to be completely blunt, why should she have to? Why should she have to? She may have been briefed by WWE media not to say anything. She may also have wanted to keep the interview about, for example, herself, as it's her interview. She may also have simply not been asked a leading enough question. We never ask what were the questions that were asked. We never asked that question. Really is excited for England's under-19s. JL says, when is the tournament for the women's tag titles happening? After SummerSlam, it is at the moment on hiatus until basically the end of time. They don't have enough teams to do what they want to do. They haven't built enough of a tag division to do what they want to do. So at the moment, it's just plain not happening. Sean says, what type of injury does Aaliyah have? I do not know. I have no idea. Sean says, Shotzi is also a heel in the Money in the Bank match. It's not just Becky. Fair, Sean. Thank you for the clarification. Jared says, does Triple H have any authority to have an opinion about who's going up? Why wouldn't he want Braun to go anyway if he's not booking NXT anymore? He is booking NXT. Who told you he wasn't booking NXT? Triple H is running NXT. He's been running NXT for a long time. He's back now full-time, but even when he was part-time, around WrestleMania time, he was still involved in the running of NXT. He does have a say in keeping his best talent, because much like in a football team, you don't want to lose your best players. His duty is to make NXT the best he can, so he needs the best players he's got for it. Wiggly says, will Asuka win on Sunday? No. Spider-Boss says, so far I'm not impressed with Theory's run on Raw. I've really enjoyed it personally. Simon says, before it was reported that the WWE and Sasha are trying to smooth things out and bring Sasha back, Bianca deserves better treatment from Twitter, not hate. I agree, but people are dicks. Wiggly says, I want Asuka to win everything. Asuka has a new t-shirt. Chris Jericho is in the UK. I was not aware of that, but fair enough. Hello, Dennis Smith. Welcome to here. Hypnosis Bro says, Becky and Bayley feuding on Twitter helps me sleep in peace knowing it might happen one day. Might happen. Might just happen sooner than you think. Could happen sooner than you think. Sean says, so Triple H could keep Io from leaving. Okay. I need to make this really, really clear. It's up to Io. It's up to Sasha. It's up to anyone whether they sign a deal. It's not up to Triple H. He'll try, certainly. He's already been trying. Triple H could. He also could not. It's complete hypothetical. No way of knowing. Spider-Boss says, can WWE use Liv and Alexa as a tag team for the tournament for the women's tag team titles? Yes, because they are a tag team now. Michael says, WWE to Sasha will book the tag division stronger. Also WWE not making any teams and not mentioning the tournament anywhere. Yep, that's exactly where they are. Simon says, Kenny Omega said one more bad injury, he's officially done. He did say that. Wiggly says, what is the deal with Io Shirai then? Her contract is up next month. She's not planning to sign a new one. Noob says, what's next for Asuka after a feud with Becky? Feuding with someone else. Jared said, that's weird. The show is totally different than that NXT era. The sexuality and the stupid gimmicks, I think they just made an angle of killing a wrestler. I don't watch enough of it to know if they've actually legitimately murdered someone. Also, I have no issue with people having sexuality. The vast majority of people have sexuality. They have their own sexuality. They're attracted to what they're attracted to. Why should they hide that? Why should they be ashamed of that? If someone wants to be open about their sexuality, I'm fine with that. JL says Lacey and Raquel can be a possible tag team. They paired up last SmackDown for a match. They did. It'd be a weird tag team, but it would be. Wiggly says Hikaru Shida finished with AEW. What happened last time you asked that question? You're trying to force it again, aren't you? Super Pony says, do you know how much WWE offered Cesaro? Less than he was already on. And Spider Boss says, your thoughts on WWE's tribute to John Cena on Raw? Liked it. Thought he was good. I thought he was a worthy person for it. And I'm very glad that the WWE didn't hold back. Really happy about it. A quick bit of news on Logan Paul. Logan Paul has officially signed a contract with the WWE that lasts about 3 years at this point. The WWE have been working on this one since WrestleMania. It's mostly been Vince McMahon himself who's been involved in making this happen, even though it was Stephanie and Triple H involved in the picture. Now, as regards plans for Logan Paul, they're planning to wait a little while before officially debuting him. Around SummerSlam, they're looking at Logan Paul versus The Miz, and then after that, they are looking at potential celebrity matches. I've mentioned there Pat McAfee. Okay, so we've got Troll again. Ed, are you here, mate? Oh, Si, you're also here. If we can deal with our Troll. There's always one, and it's always the same one. It's always the same one. So that is the plan at the moment for Logan Paul. A match with The Miz around SummerSlam time, and after that he will probably take a little more time off and then come back in and around the Royal Rumble. Now, when it comes to potential opponents, they have a lot of possibility, a lot of potential, a lot of people they could use, but they're looking at people who are good talkers. Pat McAfee, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and other things. Logan Paul, Sami Zayn's been mentioned a couple of times now because they already have some history. Sean says, Kenny also said they're keeping Cody Rhodes in the AEW game, not removing him. Removing him would be disrespectful. Well, to be fair, Cody Rhodes is a founding member of AEW, so I kind of get it. Says, as regards NXT, they did throw a guy off a bridge, but the one thrown in the water was released due to policy violation. One who threw him in has a mob boss gimmick. What's the problem? Kind of all makes sense. Again, Jared, I don't see an issue with it. I don't see an issue in someone being sexual when they are a sexual being. That is part of who they are. That is part of who we are as a society. We, vast majority of us, do have a sexuality, and if they want to express that, I'm fine with that. NXT isn't necessarily made entirely for 10 or 11-year-olds, so they don't have to hide everything. The vast majority of NXT audience is 40s, 50s. Let them perv a little bit. Nobody involved in the segment has any issue with that. They're quite happy about it. It's working for them. If you want to see another company doing that, check out New Japan whenever Kota Ibushi or Tanahashi is on screen. It's glorious. It's glorious. JL says, you think Alexa will turn heel or will she remain a babyface? Babyface for a little while now. Just for a little while. Pardon me, but she'll be babyface for a little while. And we're looking potentially the heel turn probably early next year. Brandon says, is he doing anything as big for Rey's anniversary in regards to an actual tribute? There will be a tribute to Rey Mysterio. It will not be as big as a tribute to John Cena. Even though Rey Mysterio means a lot, the fact that he's there still week in, week out, means that they don't want to overdo it at this point. Spider-Boss says Cena didn't need to say a word for to make Theory look like a fool. That is Theory's character, though. Austin Theory's character is a fool, so I think he actually came out of that looking pretty good by being the fool. You look at the way he sold the Stone Cold Stunner. That's going to stay with you. That's going to stay with you. Sometimes the fools get over. That's all I'm saying. Justin says people overreact to anything even remotely resembling the Attitude Era. When it comes to women, sex sells, always will. So WWE could be stupid not to use a few gimmicks like that, just my opinion. I also think it needs to be questioned that the fact that this is NXT. And because this is NXT, the wrestlers themselves have a lot more input. A lot more input. I'm not offended by Mandy Rose being a character that she likes to portray. Simon says, long time, really huge fan of Mandy, Priscilla Kelly, always have been. Razar says, I personally think John Cena should break the record for world titles. Think he's the best representative and seems like a genuine good person. It's been over 2 years now since I first reported that John Cena has no interest whatsoever in breaking Ric Flair's record, and that has not changed. Sean says Logan isn't full-time. He is not. Logan Paul is not on a full-time contract with the WWE. It is a limited date contract to fit with his own schedule. We won't be seeing him week in, week out. Simon lays into Billy Batty a bit and says Billy Batty said Sasha has 26 months left on her WWE contract. I don't trust a word that comes out of that man's mouth. That's all I'll say. Wiggly says, sorry, I might have missed the point. Are we debating talking about sexuality in wrestling? No issues with that. Good to see they are supporting Pride and also LGBTQI+ wrestlers being represented. Indeed, and also to be blunt, sexuality in itself is very rarely represented on TV, particularly in wrestling when it gets to the mainstream stage. Why? Are we not human? Are wrestlers not human? The entirety of interpersonal relationships in WWE comes down to Nia Jax chasing Enzo Amore around, everything that happened with Batista, which, let's be fair, AJ Lee kissing everyone because she was scripted to, which is great, and now what's going on with NXT, where you have women basically saying, I'm sexy, look, I'm also a good wrestler, look, and it works for me, because you're a well-rounded person. You're not just one thing, you're a person. Hey Tom, how you doing, mate? Great to see you. Michael says, the more I watch AEW, the more I hate how WWE caters to the casuals. Get why they do, but as a fan of wrestling, I just don't like it. The main reason I struggle to get into AEW is because they don't cater to casuals. So if I'm coming in once a month, I don't know what's going on. I don't. Omega says, who are we talking about in regards to showing their sexuality? Toxic Attraction, where it's literally their gimmick. For those that don't know, Tom Talks Rubbish has just dropped into the chat. If you want to see two Toms in interview, Tom has interviewed me about the world of pro wrestling and my own journey in content creation. It's not out yet, but keep an eye on the Tom Talks Rubbish YouTube channel. Wiggly says NXT generally isn't as PG as the other brands. I like that. It looks like an actual alternative. In that way, 2.0 is better. JL says, what storyline do you think Liv will have after Money in the Bank since she ain't winning it? Many think she is. I believe she will focus on the tag team with Alexa Bliss, and they may well be the next tag team champions. Spider Boss says, Toxic Attraction is very popular with 40-year-old men in Latin America. Who isn't? Wiggly says, even in professional sports, we are still poor on LGBT representation. Very true. The gap is narrowing, but it's not quite narrowing as fast as it should be. There is a reason whenever we get to the point of Pride Month, they only really wheel out Sonya Deville. Sean says, I hope we aren't getting another Seth Cody match. Yes, they were good, but do we really need a fourth match? If it's Cody's return match at WrestleMania, yeah. Steve says, hello, Tom. Hello, Steve. How you doing, mate? Hypnosis Bro says, why anybody would be upset? Would anybody be upset if almost won Money in the Bank? All right, that was enough laughing for today. I mean, it's different. It's different. Larry says, Otis as well, very sexual character. I mean, yeah, his relationship with Mandy Rose was genuinely good. Not sure, Sean. We'll see how it goes. Jay, we have not yet got to the Money in the Bank spoilers. We had a lot of questions, so we'll get to them in just a moment. Wiggly says, who do you see winning Lesnar versus Reigns? Seth. And Omega says, Roxanne Perez is fantastic. JL says, what match at Money in the Bank are you most looking forward to? So let's talk about Money in the Bank. Let's finally get to the point of talking about Money in the Bank, because I have a show to preview. So let's talk Money in the Bank. So, we have a United States Championship match between Austin Theory and Bobby Lashley. And I've got to be honest, I can't see a world in which Bobby Lashley comes out of this as the United States Champion. This is Austin Theory to lose, even though I don't understand how Bobby Lashley, as we know, the Almighty, is going to come out of this one a loser. The only way I can see that happening is if Austin Theory invokes support, and by support I mean MVP, or whoever he ends up facing next. I think if we're going to see John Cena, this is a point at which we'll see him, because Austin Theory is escaping with this championship. Bobby Lashley, as much as I am happy to see him back in the US title picture and think it's a title that's becoming synonymous with him, I don't see any chance of him winning. We have the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships on the line. The Usos defending against the Street Profits. And once again, unfortunately, I cannot see any way that this championship changes hands. There are 4 championship matches on this card, and I've got to say, we're not starting off great. The Street Profits, as good as they are in the middle of a rebuild, they are going to be thrown against the Usos, and they are going to bounce off, much as many people have bounced off of Roman Reigns during this particular bloodline run. We should get a fantastic match out of this. I just want to be clear on that. We should get a fantastic match out of this. But the Usos will be retaining clean, because the bloodline have a habit of winning clean. Next up, we have Ronda Rousey versus Natalya. Now, Natalya is a stopgap. Natalya is just there to fill the championship match quota to make Ronda Rousey a more fighting champion. Ronda Rousey will be making Natalya tap in this match. I expect it to be a solid wrestling match, and in many ways a refresher for Ronda Rousey after not exactly setting the world alight with Charlotte Flair so far. So Natalya will look after her, give her a good match, but Ronda Rousey ultimately will make Natalya tap clean as you like. The final championship match is for the Raw Women's Championship. It is Bianca Belair defending against Carmella. Carmella was drafted in because everyone else was either needed in the Money in the Bank ladder match or was in another storyline. Rhea Ripley was going to be losing to Bianca Belair, not clean. Carmella has been drafted in to lose to Bianca Belair, clean as you like. Clean as you like. Now we get to the spoilers, so a spoiler warning for this one. Now, I've been speaking to people backstage, I've been tracking the betting odds, and I've been looking at who the favourites are. So the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match will feature Lacey Evans, Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, Raquel Rodriguez, Asuka, Shotzi, and Becky Lynch. And I've got to say, this is a tremendous assortment of people. While I do feel disappointed that we don't have someone like Shayna Baszler there, just for that bit of variation, we do have a nice combination of people. Lacey Evans and Raquel Rodriguez are there to be the powerhouses, with Becky Lynch sort of a backup in that regard. Asuka is there as a submission specialist and a hard hitter. You've got Shotzi, Liv Morgan as high flyers. You've got Alexa Bliss, of course, and Becky Lynch bringing the star power and the overall technical prowess. It's a great combination of people. Becky Lynch is winning the Women's Money in the Bank briefcase. Becky Lynch, once again, is winning the Money in the Bank briefcase. And I feel confident when she does cash it in, it will be on Ronda Rousey to get us to Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey at next year's WrestleMania. That would be the main event of one of the nights. Finally, we have the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, which currently features Seth Rollins, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Omos, Sami Zayn and Riddle, with, to be announced, one more potential person. I believe this is likely to be Kevin Owens. Now, at the moment, of the people there are a number of good, interesting choices. Matt Riddle would be a very good choice at the moment, particularly depending on whether Randy Orton gets a title shot upon his return. Sami Zayn, also a very interesting proposition. The winner of the match will be Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins currently in the driver's seat to win the Money in the Bank briefcase. My suspicion is that he will be cashing in the main event of SummerSlam in the last man standing match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns to win the WWE Championship, which would be potentially the only one that he is eligible for. I've been reporting for a while that the championships could well be separated before Survivor Series. That is still the plan, and it's nice to see that other people have started to report that. So let's catch up with the last of the chat, and after that we'll be heading off. Spider-Boss says, so far I like what Mandy does. She's sexy and she knows it, and why not celebrate that? Ed says, hey Steve, see you in about 5 minutes. I might tune in. Wiggly says, will we be organising that Clash at the Castle meetup? Well, I'm not going to the event, so probably not. But we could still organise a meetup, just not with me potentially there. We could organise a meetup in the Discord, in the chat, and make that happen. Also says, are you doing a Money in the Bank watch along? Yes, I am. We will be live with a Money in the Bank watch along tomorrow, starting at the beginning of the pre-show and ending at the end of the show overall. Sai says, I'm banned by Skybet for betting on wrestling. I think they suspected insider trading. I almost said you're right, go follow Tom if you don't already. Can you deal with the troll again, please, guys? Would much appreciate it. Yeah, I can't bet on wrestling for something quite similar. Mostly because it would be insider trading. So I don't bet on wrestling. Hypnosis Bro says, has there been any changes to the betting odds for the ladder matches? I'm curious. The betting odds have shifted slightly, but the actual favourites have not. Jared says, any idea about Roman and Brock's schedule in their build to the match? After Money in the Bank, both will return and start the build to their main event at SummerSlam. They are planned to be on every SmackDown after Money in the Bank. Steve says, very well, thank you. How likely can it be that WWE brings back the special Big Show ladder for Money in the Bank tomorrow, but this time for Omos? The ladder is not in creation and in reserve to my knowledge. However, the ladder does still exist, so why the devil not? Megan says, how does Austin Theory win? Baby oil, lots of baby oil. I don't hate what you've just said, Megan. I don't hate what you've just said. Bobby Lashley's desperately trying to lock in the Hurt Lock, but Austin Theory's just too slippery. Someone has oiled up that beefcake. Someone has taken the care and attention to take that there beefcake and just oil him right up. Just smooth him out. Anyway. Michael says Ronda is going against Charlotte at SummerSlam, right? That's my guess. And indeed, that is the most likely scenario. Sean says, speaking of Ronda, Jim Cornette commented about her and he didn't say positive things about her. Yeah, because a lot of his community hate her on the virtue of being a woman in wrestling. Hypnosis Bro says, Roman versus Brock should have an extra stipulation. Maybe a stipulation like to get Roman's schedule back to normal. Real funny people in here. JJ says, I know Becky's going to make winning the briefcase entertaining. I believe so, yes. I also think that allows her to be on both shows, just sort of waving it in people's faces. I think there's a lot of potential there. Wrestler fan says, will Kevin Owens or Gunther be competing at SummerSlam? Both will be competing at SummerSlam, yes. Spider Boss says, why did the WWE pick Seth and Becky to win the briefcases? I would love to see Riddle and Liv winning. Because of where they're going. If Riddle wins it, chances are he won't be winning his cash-in. If Liv wins it, there are no plans for her to win a championship this year. So having Seth and Becky win, they would both be winning their cash-ins. And there is a problem in the WWE right now, in that they don't trust people lower down the card to get the briefcase. Case in point, Nikki Cross. They trusted her with it, and let's just say they were very disappointed. They believe that the fans do not get behind people if they are too low down the card. So that's why we're going to see him go back to the big names. Jay said, so if Becky cashes in on Ronda, she'll be on SmackDown. She would be, yes. Unless, for example, she cashed in on Ronda, and then there was a draft. Wiggly says, is there anything actually inside the briefcase? Yes. Mostly it is a paper with the words a guaranteed contract on it, in case in hitting someone with the briefcase it pops open. So there's actually a prop in there, but it's just a 2-page prop. Spider-Boss says, does Seth cash in like he did in 2015? I think he does. I think he does. Wiggly's asking why we're talking about oiling up people. Because this is how I show support, right? Alright? Jay Wilson, welcome. Says, update on Bayley. Yes. So the most recent update on Bayley, I mentioned it earlier, but I'll reiterate it now because it's been a little while. Bayley has been cleared a while back. I've reported this a couple of times in the last couple of weeks. Bayley was cleared a while back. They've just been waiting for a particular storyline and a particular opponent to become available so that they can bring her back. I expect her to be featuring at SummerSlam at the latest. Potentially as soon as next week's SmackDown. I expect to see her return, or in fact, WWE Raw. But right now, I think she's needed more on SmackDown. I would imagine we're going to see, for example, Bayley versus Lacey Evans. For example. Spider-Boss says, I feel WWE never trusted in Big E when he became WWE champ last year. I think you're right. I really do. Sean says, could Becky cash in and fail? She could. She won't. Wiggly says, in theory, they only need to cash in the contract and carry that in their pocket rather than the briefcase. Yes. And I would not like to say anything else on that. Referees accept the briefcase. What if, for example, someone cashed in, but the contract wasn't in the briefcase? Referees have got used to it. They've just accepted it. Well, then what do you do with the contract? Because you still got it. Spider-Boss says, can Seth cash in fail because Brock attacks him? Yes. But will he? Probably not. To be clear, anything can happen. Anything is theoretically possible. Jay says, I can see Bayley versus Charlotte versus Ronda. That would certainly make it just that little bit more exciting. I'll be there for that. Wiggly says, is it wrong to find Asuka funny, or does WWE play on the fact her English isn't great? I mean, isn't that just a bit racist? It is the fans, not the WWE, that keep shouting what whenever Asuka speaks. Wrestler fan says, Dave Meltzer said that John Cena won't be on SummerSlam but on Mania 39. Is that true? I don't know. I don't know the schedule. I'm waiting to find out. Wiggly says maybe that could be a storyline that someone cashed in about the contract in the briefcase. Certainly, I think it could be. Simon says, never ever worked for any of Ronda's opponents in her iconic very armbars in a very legendary undefeated streak. I don't really know what you're saying there, Simon, to be honest. Wiggly says, I think Drew will win and will cash in to have a main event at the Clash with Reigns, but will lose. Well, to be fair, he's already decided he's going to have that match. He told Roman, and Roman's just ignored him. Sean says, imagine if Becky cashes in on Mandy Rose. She will not. That's not a real world title in WWE's eyes. And Wiggly says, are you doing a SmackDown watch along tonight? I am. I will be live for the entirety of SmackDown starting in just over 2 hours with the beginning of the show and going through till the end. And on that note, I will wrap up there. We have 23 likes. We peaked at 51 viewers on YouTube, 63 viewers in total. Want to say a magnificent, huge thank you to everybody for joining me for the show today. We will be live in 2 hours for the SmackDown watch party. I hope to see as many of you there as possible. And don't forget, we will be live for the Money in the Bank watch party as well. That is tomorrow, and that will be at beginning. Pardon me. That will begin right when the pre-show starts. Right when the pre-show starts. Wiggly. Fair enough. There's Happy Pride Day tomorrow to anyone celebrating in London. Pride was in Blackpool earlier last month, and now it's down to London. So Happy Pride to everyone who may be celebrating. In the meantime, thank you very much, everyone. I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic. I'll see you all very soon.